Hello, friends. I'm continuing my Tim Talks related to the hymns of our faith and looking at our hymnal as a kind of devotional book. And the hymns of faith are religious poetry that express some of our deepest feelings and our thoughts and our beliefs. And today I want us to focus on a hymn that is, I think, timely for our time. It's a hymn that has brought comfort to many people down through the ages. It's a strong hymn of faith. It's how firm a foundation, reminding us that when we feel like we are standing on shifting sand, that really there is a firm foundation that is ours in our faith. And this hymn was written in 1787 in England. It was published in a hymnal that identified the author of the hymn only as K. It's widely accepted now that Robert Keane was the author of the hymn. Robert Keane was the music minister in a Baptist church in London. And the hymn really became very popular in the United States back during the revival movement of the 19th century, and especially when it was published in a hymnal called the Sacred Harp. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But this great hymn of faith, I want to share with you the words of the hymn from the Cokesbury hymnal. This is one of the many hymnals that I have in my collection. This hymnal is really special to me because when I was growing up, the little church that I was a member of, the Rehoboth United Methodist Church outside of Carthage, Texas, for the evening service, we always sang out of the Cokesbury hymnal, and that was true in the early churches that I served. In fact, one of the first churches I served only used this hymnal, the Cokesbury hymnal. But listen to these words. How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith in his excellent word. What more can he say than to you he hath said? To you who for refuge to Jesus have fled. Fear not, I am with thee, O be not dismayed. For I am thy God, I will still give thee aid. I'll strengthen thee, help thee, and cause thee to stand, upheld by my gracious, omnipotent hand. When through fiery trials thy pathway shall lie, my grace, all sufficient, shall be thy supply. The flame shall not hurt thee. I only design thy dross to consume and thy gold to refine. In down to old age, all my people shall prove my sovereign, eternal, unchangeable love. And when hoary hairs shall their temples adorn, like lambs, they shall still in my bosom be born. The soul that on Jesus still leans for repose, I will not desert to his foes. That soul, though all hell should endeavor to shake, I'll never, no never, no never forsake. Now you may have been surprised when I read those words from the Cokesbury hymnal because that fourth verse is different from the verses that are in our United Methodist hymnal. But I like that verse because it talks about all our lives long, down through old age. Our faith remains our firm foundation for our living. Brings us comfort and hope in times when we most need it. And God's grace, as it says in the hymn, is sufficient for us, is a sufficient supply for us to meet our needs. I wanted to share out of the Cokesbury hymnal too because there's a feature in this hymnal, and I want to point that out to you. You can see that the notes have shapes, and those shapes correspond to fa, sol, la, and mi. Fa, sol, la, and mi. It was a way of learning to read music and to sing. And so the singers would learn by singing those syllables that correspond to the notes. That school of singing was made popular by the publication and the formation of the school of singing of this hymnal called The Sacred Harp. This edition was published in 1901, and it's part of my collection, and it's really special to me because it belonged to my great-grandfather, W.B. Whitaker, my maternal grandmother's father. And he loved Sacred Harp singing, and it was really special to him. And he was part of the East Texas Sacred Harp Singing Convention way back in the early part of the last century. Now, his son-in-law, my paternal grandfather, did not care for Sacred Harp singing, and my grandmother said that he called it scared harp. Well, Sacred Harp singing is really very special, and it continues. In fact, the East Texas Sacred Harp Singing Convention is the second oldest still in operation in our nation, going all the way back more than 150 years. How Firm a Foundation is number 72 in the Sacred Harp. And Sacred Harp singing is done in a particular way. It's a cappella. There is no accompaniment. Somebody gives the pitch. The song leader leads, keeping time with an open hand like this and directing just like this. The singers sit in a square, and they sit by sections: treble, alto, tenor, and bass. And they sing through the hymn the first time, singing those syllables that I talked about earlier, following the shape notes in the hymnal. And you can see in the Sacred Harp that you have those same shape notes. And you can see there the hymn, Firm Foundation. And so they sing through the first time, singing the notes, and then they sing the words. The director, which rotates from person to person, the director stands in the middle, the song leader, and directs, as I said, keeping time like this, and calling out what hymn they will sing. To be the song leader is a great position to stand in, because you get to stand in the center of the square, and it's probably the best location for hearing all four parts as they are sung. It was my privilege when the East Texas Sacred Harp Singing Convention was held in the little church that I served in my first appointment as a student pastor, to get to lead one of those songs. And it was also a wonderful privilege to take my grandmother, who was still living at the time, not too long before her death, to that convention that summer, and for her to experience for the first time, really since childhood or young adulthood, Sacred Harp singing. So I want you to hear a bit of Sacred Harp singing. The movement continues today, and in fact has had kind of a resurgence recently. And so I want you to hear some of number 72, How Firm a Foundation. What you'll hear is the song leader calling the song. You'll hear someone give the pitch, and then you'll hear them singing through with the syllables that correspond to the notes, and then they will sing the hymn. let's sing the words. So you can hear the distinctive sound. They sing in straight tones, very little to no vibrato, and they sing with a lot of enthusiasm. Some of the wonderful hymns of faith that come mostly out of the revival movement in the South, particularly in the 19th century. How firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith in his excellent word. I hope that you'll take some time to explore the hymns of our faith and to let them be devotional material for you. You can find them on the internet if you don't have a hymnal at home. Meanwhile, stay safe, and God bless you.